Young friends, distinguished guests, question is on everybody's mind, what is likely to happen in 2024? They say, Vox populi, Vox die. What does it mean? The voice of the people is the voice of God. Now, how do you discern the voice of God? In earlier years, they called it augury, where people read from a tea leaf. You know, when somebody drank from a tea leaf, they saw the tea leaves which are remaining, and they said that we can read from this. So this kind of an augury has to happen as to what will happen in 2024. Now, I have a perspective on this which I'm going to place before you and before this august house. And you will decide if my perspective is going to be purchased, bought by you, or you're going to discard it. Now, my first point is that we have been seeing elections and we've been seeing the terms of prime ministers of this country. So let's go from the very first. Let's go from Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. How long did he rule us? He was there as Prime Minister for nearly 17 years, 16 years and 286 days to be precise. Further on, there was Lal Bahadur Shastri, and he was Prime Minister for 1 year and 216 days, and then he went in, of course, he died in Tashkent and under very unfortunate circumstances. Then was Indira Ji. During her first term in office, she was Prime Minister for 11 years and 59 days. That is, till 1977. Then she was re-elected in 1980, at which time she became Prime Minister for 4 years and 291 days. But in the interim, we had one gentleman from Gujarat who was the Prime Minister, and that was Morarji Bhai. And he became the Prime Minister for 2 years and 126 days. Then there was Charan Singh Ji. He became Prime Minister for 170 days. Further on, there was Rajiv Ji, who was the Prime Minister of India for 5 years and 32 days. VP Singh for 343 days. Chandrasekhar for 233 days. PV Narasimha Rao had a long tenure and he was Prime Minister for 4 years and 330 days. Again, there was Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who became Prime Minister for 13 days. Then there was the former Prime Minister of India from Mr. Tanveer's party, who was Prime Minister for 324 days, Mr. H.D. Deve Gowda. Then there was yet another Prime Minister in 1997, Mr. I.K. Gujral, who remained Prime Minister for 332 days. Yet again, Mr. Vajpayee was re-elected. He became Prime Minister for 6 years and 64 days. Dr. Manmohan Singh remained as Prime Minister for 10 years and 4 days. And subsequently, we have Modi ji now for 7 years and 191 days. Now, why I am giving you these statistics is for a reason. That during the 90s, you see, we have had elections repeating a leader. We have had Pandit Nehru being re-elected 3 terms. But sometime in the 1990s, I think people decided that they're going to give 2 terms to each central government. And we have had elections in 1998. After 13 months, Vajpayee ji was re-elected and he became the Prime Minister for, like I said, 6 years and 64 days. That is for 2 terms. Similarly, the next Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, also got 2 terms. 2004 and 2009, 2 terms, and he remained Prime Minister for 10 years and 4 days. Now the third Prime Minister is going to, beyond the 1990s, the third Prime Minister is Modi ji. Whether he breaks the so-called the charm of 2 terms is something which we ought to see, and we are now going to witness a fresh election in 2024. Now, what are the circumstances under which we are going to face this fresh election. We have had, like my young friend spoke about, we have had COVID, not the first wave of COVID, the second wave of COVID. Even children knew that the second wave of any disease is far more dangerous than the first. And here was a situation where in the Spanish flu, far more people died of the Spanish flu than during the first wave. Here, there were no precautions taken. There was oxygen which was not in supply. ICUs were not in supply. The vaccine was not initiated. So, a large number of people died during the second wave, and we have seen the decline in popularity of Sri Narendra Modi. We have seen it reaching from way up to the 60s to 24%. Now, this kind of a trend, which happens mid-term, and we have had a lot of instances which we call a black swan during the UPA regime, during which the Congress party was in power. There was the period in time from 2011 when people thought that, Dr. Manmohan Singh is probably going to get a second term, because in 2004 he only got 145 seats. In 2009, Dr. Manmohan Singh got 209 seats. So his tally went up. Just like Modi ji's tally went up again from 2014 to 2019. First round he got 282 seats, second round he got 303 seats. Now this tally going up is something which again happens between 1998 and 1999. Vajpayee ji also got his tally raised. Now this is a trend which we have to see, and we have to find out if this is the trend which is going to carry on till 2028. And this is the reason why I was deeply influenced by how the judges spoke, the young students spoke. Everybody pointed out to the fact that prices are rising, that COVID has been mishandled, right? And that regarding the farm laws. Now, given a situation where a leader's popularity is on the decline, whether he is able to arrest that decline and take it up is a question which is out there for all of us to see. And this is something which I think a lot of people will have to question and test. Second part is, in 2014, soon after Pulwama and the other instances, we saw that people were speaking about nationalism, ultra-nationalism. Now here is a situation where the ultra-nationalists have difficulty speaking about a situation where the Pentagon speaks about the fact that China has infiltrated India and built villages deep within Indian territory. Now what do the nationalists say? They find it very difficult now to speak about this. There are other instances which the nationalists are, tied up. This situation is something which the nationalists will find very difficult to answer, and it's for this reason that I feel that what really will decide how elections in 2024 will go is, one, the elections of Uttar Pradesh in 2022 and the elections of Gujarat, which most of my young friends will participate, and I expect several of you to be voters during this election. Therefore, I think insofar as the fact that what happens in 2024, it's a hypothesis on everybody's part. Ultimately, like I said, Vox Populi, Vox Dei, the voice of the people is the voice of God. And with this kind of a scenario where a certain leader's popularity is on the decline, then how will people decide in 2024 is a question which the people of India will have to decide. And I think it's something which today the several journalists, several people who are on panels here and there, and all of you will have to decide. And this question is right out there for everybody to decide. Thank you very much.